What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bittersweet Podcast. It's your girl, Wintana.
And I'm Rahel.
And we have a special guest on the Bittersweet Hot Seat today. We have Hanad Hersi.
What's happening?
What's up?
Thank you. Hey, good, blessed. Thanks for having me on.
We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, get to see the pod space, you know, get to link up with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. You know what's funny, and I told you this when I spoke to you. How long ago was it now? We were making a list of people that we wanted to bring on the podcast. And you were on that list. I'm like, I see all the community stuff he's doing. Like, I feel like he'll be really good to just like shed light, you know. And then we didn't follow through because just a lot of things happen. A lot of things
about life.
Getting busy.
Things happened at the time, and then we didn't have a chance to follow through. And then Faisal hit us up. We're like, this is the perfect. Like, this is an alignment right now.
Shout out to Faisal.
Shout out to Faisal. He's had so many shout outs.
So many shout outs on this podcast.
Yeah.
Bless him.
That was
Bless
amazing.
him.
That's good to be here.
Yeah, for people who are listening, how would you explain what you do?
Yeah, what I do. My name's Hanad. I am a community development practitioner. I'm currently working as a forensic youth worker or forensic worker, or case worker at the moment. Passionate about crime prevention, youth justice, youth participation, you know, program design, planning, evaluating, stuff like that. Advocacy is a big part of my work, you know, making sure, you know, the voices are heard from the ground, advocating on all things, whether it be youth, community, housing, anything in that sphere right there. Yeah.
How long have you been doing it for?
Man, I've been in the community space for about 6.5 years now, 7 years now.
How did you start?
It's interesting. I started with, I've always been kind of working in the, not working, but behind the scenes, volunteering and stuff like that in the space, right? But I got my first shot with the North Melbourne Football Club.
Okay.
So I worked at North Melbourne. They've got a community arm over there called the Huddle.
Yeah,
So
I know about the Huddle.
I was their coordinator, long title, coordinator of social cohesion for young people and children. And I think the CEO out there, Cameron McLeod, gave me my first shot or my first crack in community, you know? And that kind of opened the doors. That's how I started.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah.
We need to get more into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got questions for you today.
Let's
We're going to
going.
get into all of it. But before we do, you know, in true Bittersweet fashion, like I always say, we have to start off with a game.
Yeah.
Give you like, you know, a little icebreaker.
Let's make it happen.
So the game that we're going to be playing with you is called Win or Bin. Have you heard of this game before?
No.
So basically, it's a fancy way of saying it's disagree or agree. So the point is, we're going to give you a scenario, and you're going to either tell us is that if it's a win, agree, or disagree, being bin.
Okay.
So the first one is creating Instagram accounts for your children, having little Insta star babies. Is that a win or a bin?
Well, that's a bin.
That's a bin?
That's a big bin for me.
Why?
But hold up. I did do some weird thing the other day though. Like, hold on. I might sound like a hypocrite right now. I'm gonna bin the Instagram though, but I created emails for my kids. Email accounts. No, because their first name and their last name, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yo.
Oh, you just in case.
Just in case. So just in case no one takes his email address off them, right? So I put their names in. I created 2 Outlook accounts. Yeah. And then boom, that's them. So every couple of weeks or every couple of months, you know? Yeah. I put like a photo in there.
So you're just thinking ahead for your kids.
100%.
Yeah.
But the Instagram part, because I don't think Instagram's going to be dead by the time they get older. It'll be some new account or something like that.
What about just posting them in general? Just say on your personal account.
Ooh, I used to. So, okay, you guys want to go deep for a bit?
Yeah, we can go into this.
Bless. My daughter's 2.5 years old right now, Iman, right? So when me and my wife first had her in December 2020, first time parents, ecstatic. Happy, you know, over the moon. We have a little girl, and then there was a bit where we started posting our daughter on socials. I posted on my socials, she posted on her socials, and it was weird where, this is wild, right? Every time we posted her, she got sick.
What?
Wild. Every time we posted her, she'll get sick. She'll get a cold, she'll have runny nose, or she'll get sick, right? And
someone's evil eyeing your daughter.
So I remember my mum, who's so anti-posting, right? Yeah. She would get angry every time. She would stop posting my granddaughter on social media. You don't know who's looking. You don't know what's out there. And then we just stopped. We just made an agreement. You know what? From now on, no more posting the kids.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
That is, I didn't even...
Hold on, I took it somewhere deep, right?
No, that's not even deep though. That's actually really, that's scary.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I swear
that's actually really...
She got sick, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm always a bit, I don't know, I've always been a bit, like the creating Instagram accounts is a bit much.
That's
because
crazy.
I think people, that's just like people trying to benefit, I mean, like profit off their child. I feel like, you know, just having an Instagram, because who doesn't love baby content on TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah.
But I don't know, I feel like I've always been a bit like, I wouldn't disagree to posting content of my kid, but then also there's just a bunch of freaks out there.
Yeah.
I never thought of the evil eye thing. I always thought about people just downloading pictures of if I had a baby and someone's like downloading pictures of my kid doing things, or sharing around what my kid looks like. I don't like that.
Yeah. Just to like get like creepy and like deep again. I saw this TikTok and it was like this girl, she was talking about how she worked in child crime prevention, mainly like in the online cyberspace. And she was like, yeah, like most, you know, child pornography photos that are put up on the internet are just like screenshots of kids that are on social media and stuff. That freaks me the fuck out. I remember when you see people that have TikToks dedicated to their kid and it's like millions of views. Yeah. It's like, who are these people? I don't know. It's just like, it's crazy to me. But I feel like I would like maybe post on my personal like Instagram or like
people
private,
people have private accounts,
private, exactly,
like, just for the like they'll have like a private.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You have a personal account, then they'll have a private personal account.
Yeah,
or even like the close. I think Instagram gives you that close friends option, right? Saying that's okay if you just fill that up with family and, you know, friends or aunties, stuff like that. But just wider public, it's scary.
It's scary.
All right, so next one here: telling people, friends or people, about your future plans. Is that a win or a bin?
Ooh. Wait, can I be on the fence for this one?
Yeah.
Huh? It's interesting.
No, you have to pick a lane.
Yeah, you gotta pick a lane. You gotta pick a lane. It's interesting depending on who.
Yeah.
Depending on who, you just gotta be very mindful of who you give that information to. You know, I'd say win if it's your close friends, right? So if it's your day ones, your homies, and you're trying to manifest, you know, you're talking to them about your future plans and things you want to get up and going, you know. I often do that because those individuals hold me accountable.
Okay.
Yeah? So it's like, hey, listen, boys or girls, I want to do X, Y, and Z. You know, this is my next 6 months, right? Then they're going to ask me, hey, Hanad, how are those goals going, you know?
Yeah.
But to the general public, it's like sometimes you got to keep things on the hush-hush, you know? You got to keep things on the low because a play is a play, you know? And we live in a world right now where content is gold, you know. So your ideas have to be
that's
harvested.
such a good point.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about like what you said about, you know, the same thing with your daughter. You know how people have, you know, there's evil eye or people who just don't wish you well, and then if you're out here just telling your plans, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, not everyone has the best intentions, or, you know, really want the best for you.
You're 100% right, because I'll be real, right? It's like sometimes you have to evaluate your circle, you know, as a young person, as an adult, as an individual, you know, you got to evaluate the people around you, right? And I always say this, not everyone's trying to see you win.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we have to stop being naive and, you know, think, oh, we live in a, you know, fairy world where everyone's, you know, everyone wants to see me win. The truth of the matter is, you know, like sometimes you are going to have those individuals who, your downfalls, they're happy. Oh, yes, this guy ain't making it out. This guy ain't doing this and that, you know? So you just got to be very careful with your networks, your contacts, and who you bring around your circle, because, I don't know.
It's even, I saw something today actually, and it was like, even your closest friends, like some people, this guy was telling his story about a friend, and he was like, I had a friend around, and he only kept me around because he knew I was a good friend, but he didn't like me. And so he would go to other people and talk and just badmouth his friend, but he knew that he was a good friend. Like, he would do good things, he would stand by him and everything, but he just didn't like the person. How crazy is that? He's happy to keep you around because he knows your characteristics are good, but just doesn't really mess with you. So I don't know, it's crazy.
Scary. What is it win or bin for you?
For me, it's like a win to tell the people that are close to me about my plans. I don't want to be too incognito about everything's not just like, you know, a secret, but I wouldn't just tell people. Also, even if it was my friends, unless I'm like sure about something, I just don't like to speak on things anymore. Unless it's like I'm gonna do it. Otherwise it becomes this thing of me just saying things that I'm gonna do, and then it never happens. But it's not because sometimes it's just you didn't really want to do it. Just a premature thought.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, same obviously, but I think one of the biggest things for me is what you said about like people might be like, especially at work and stuff like that. I found like, you know, sometimes I'll say my ideas or my plans and then there'll be people that will just repeat what I've said in a different company, and it's like, and not credit, you know, they won't credit you. So I've learned through my, you know, couple of years like in professional work where it's like you just have to be careful who you talk to, because I'll be like, we should do this, I'm so inspired, and then people will sit next to you in front of you, they'll look you in your eye and like regurgitate what you have said, and you're just sitting there like, am I petty to be like, but that was my idea.
That was me, huh?
Yeah, so it's just, but with friends, like, it's like, be careful, because I've done it a couple times. Like, I just get overexcited when I have a good idea, and I'll be like, I want to do this and this and this and this, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's all right with friends, though. I feel like sometimes they just have to understand you, you know, humble you sometimes. Okay, the last one is, would you, win or bin, kissing your partner first thing in the morning?
Win or bin, kissing partner? Oh, win. That's bliss.
We're talking about like, as in the whole point of that question is like morning bread, everything.
Stay, it's bliss. It is what it is.
Love is love.
Love is love. What do you mean?
Okay, what about you, Rahul?
What do you mean? I'm first in the morning. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, like, you know, it's no.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah.
Is that a win for you or a
win? No, that's a win. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys say it like it's like not even a question.
If it's your partner, like if it's your partner, like what the hell? Like you're with this.
Your
person.
partner is a human being, though. Your partner.
Hey, listen, when you've been married for like 4 or 5 years now, it's whatever.
Yeah, you should be able to like. I would be so offended if I was with someone and they were like, "Don't kiss me in the morning because your breath stinks." I'd be like, are you being for real? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, it is what it is. For me, I feel like...
Hold on. I want to investigate that.
I don't like... I mean, if it was just a little, like, peck, I don't know. For me, it's like... probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. The thing is, I'm not in a 5-year relationship. Yeah. Maybe once I get deep into a relationship, okay. But right now, the position that I'm in, if I was to get into a relationship, it would be like a bin. It's a bin.
But I'm a forehead guy though.
Yeah, see, you can give me a kiss on the forehead. I'll give you a kiss on the forehead. Like guy, that's fine.
But I think even the other one should be normal, to be honest.
Should be.
Maybe a little peck or something, but I just feel like
a full-on
nah.
Oh no, hold on. I wasn't talking about the full-on. Hey.
That's what I'm saying. For me, it's a pause on that one. Because
I was talking about the full-on like.
Really?
Situation. Yeah.
Okay.
No. What do you mean? Like, I'm talking about like a relationship. Like, I just feel like there's no boundaries at that point.
There are definitely boundaries.
I don't know. I'm the type of person that it's like, you're seeing all of me. Like, there's no holding back.
They're still a person to me. Like, it doesn't mean just because you've been together for longer, it doesn't change the fact that they're still a human being. They still have, you know, morning breath exists, bodily. It's all the same. So I don't know why
but I'm just not like grossed out about it. If it was like, obviously, if it's like one that I've only seen a couple times, or I don't really know you like that, like, no. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, but I don't know, it's not that deep. Yeah. But now I feel like so awkward.
You feel judged now? We're not judging you. Like, oh, nah.
I'm judging you, by the way.
I'm not judging. I'm judging both of you then, if that's the case. All right, well, that's the end of our game. We didn't grill you too hard.
That was good. That was good.
Were you tense?
Nah, I was tense. I watched a couple of other episodes. I'm like, hey, listen, I got to be ready for this. Like, everything else after this, I'm blessed, right? I'm I don't know what was coming.
What were you expecting?
Some feisty questions, huh? But nah.
We kept it light.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
I feel like you kind of like touched on a little bit what got you into community work and kind of where you're at now. But yeah, could you just tell us a little bit more about like what sort of even like what led you to the point of being like, okay, I'm going to put my hand up and I want to be involved in like working with community, and like what has been your journey from the start to kind of like where you're at now?
I think for me it was all about like representation. I think Akesh, who was on here for the last pod, you know, she spoke about that in a different context, but representation around having our voices being heard, you know. obviously, like I'm 29 now, turning 30. When I was a young person, navigating, the community, etc. Obviously, we'd go through things. There'd be some challenges, barriers, etc. But there weren't people within our age groups, who were in these spaces advocating for us, right? Our rights, our needs, access to X, Y, and Z, right? So I think it's using your voice. I've always been a vocal person, whether it be at school, playing basketball with the boys, right? But just kind of understanding how to use this gift that God gave me, which is my voice. You might not like what I say. It might not be hitting the right way, X, Y, and Z, but just kind of speaking the truth, I think that's where it started from originally. But I've gone through a whole journey of learning. I'd be very naive if I told you I came into this space just as I am and, did my own thing. It's kind of looking at the other leaders in the space, the elders especially, obviously, they've been leading the charge for quite a number of years, looking at things that they've been doing and the challenges that they face and other community practitioners and learning from them and stuff like that. It's been really good. So, and kind of adding my own flavor to it too, So, yeah.
Do you, when you say like looking at what the elders were doing, do you mean like what they went through with the kids and everything? Or Yeah, because
before Hanad or before us, right? These guys were here.
Yeah.
So sitting down and actually taking time to understand, like, what was this like when you had to advocate for that or this program or that community space, or when you put together this organization, what did you face? What challenges did you face? What were the highs? What were the lows? Right? Taking time to actually work through some of those things, it's really, really important because it gives me a foundation now.
Yeah.
So now I've got a wealth of knowledge that I've got from these guys, and I can now push it forward.
Do you feel like it was harder for them in a way for, like, let's say our parents' generation, because they've come here, there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
And I even think about like when I was growing up and just like I grew up in Point Cook, but I was like in inner city for a bit, like Kensington, and then moved to Point Cook, and then I had my cousins and everything living in Flemington. So I was there a lot of the times, and I would hear my auntie just talking about like all the things that were happening and kind of like how the mums had to, whether it's like going to a police station or doing, whatever it is to get their kids out of trouble, or to even, I don't know, it was really, because I listened to them and I'm like, all they have is really just the numbers, but they don't have the language, they don't have the tools, they don't have the education on how to actually, get through to the kids or even like understand the system.
Yeah.
So do you, when you were doing your like research or even just talking to them, do you feel like it was harder for them back then because there was a disconnect between the system and a disconnect between the kids of the like the kids here, raised here, and them?
They really started from the bottom. I think when we look at like the first generation, our parents, and how they came to Australia, a lot of them might have been asylum seekers, refugees. They were fleeing war-torn countries, famine, poverty, stuff like that, and being but coming to another country where you don't speak the language. You've got no connections there. We haven't got a base here, so everything started from scratch, right? A lot harder for them. A lot harder for them, but what they did have at their disposal was unity. They were a lot more connected. They were
and
a lot
community
more,
and all that.
These guys, where communication was key. Everyone knows what everyone's doing. They'd link up on weekends. Will be a party. I've got these. My mum's got these photos, these film photos, from back in the day. We're talking 7, 8, 9 massive books, right? All these photos. These guys were connected together, where it's completely different to how it is now, right? They did face a lot of struggles navigating the Western world. Finding a job, learning the language. You hear some very, very disturbing stories about mums accessing these language centers. These you go, like there's places where you go to learn English, and the racism and the discrimination and the abuse they were subjected to, but they still stuck to it. They still managed to learn the language, get their diploma, certificates, etc. They did go through a challenging time, but I think they kind of built that road or foundation for us to kind of succeed and be the individuals and the people we are today. So big shout out to that generation.
Big shout out to them. But like your community was so different when back then and now.
It's night and day. Night and day.
Was there like a moment for you in your like career, kind of like working in community, where I don't know, like a moment that kind of changed your perspective or kind of like catapulted you more into the spotlight of like working in community? Like, was there, I think just because I've like kind of read up on some things that you've done, like what were kind of like the main touch points of the work that you've done?
I think I've been very, very fortunate to work in a number of fields, you know, whether it be housing, youth justice, homelessness, you know, forensics, stuff like that, right? Yeah. But I think it was quite recently too. I think the moment where one incident I look back at is probably the 2020 public housing lockdowns. Only because, you know, firstly, it was a very traumatic time for the members of the communities of the 9 Towers, you know, obviously being subjected to those harsh conditions, those lockdowns, etc. But if you take that aside, you put that aside, that was a moment where you actually saw community.
Yeah. Come together and everything. Yeah.
It was for the individuals that were there, for those who were looking via social media or who were just watching the news, right? It's that one time where you saw, hey, listen, like, we've got numbers.
Yeah.
And like, if one of us are going through distress or struggles, we're all gonna show out. Yeah. We're all gonna support each other, you know. Yeah. But also that incident or that situation, it shows the power of using your voice. Because when you've got the government who locks down 3,000 something residents with no information, no warning, nothing, right? And then now you've got community members who are outside trying to organize food, medicine, information, stuff like that. And we can see literally from day one, we can see what these guys are doing, you know? Like, there's nothing organized.
The community organized it. If it wasn't for everyone coming together and, you know, like bringing food together and people packing it and then delivering it, they wouldn't have had it.
You know what's interesting? Yeah. I've never told this story. I've actually never told this story where the very first day of I might get cancelled for this, but it is what it is. The very first day of it is what it is, right? The very we're speaking facts, you know? The very first day of the lockdown, early in the morning, like 9:30 in the morning, I think there was a meeting that was held outside of the towers. So you had government departments. You had Victoria Police, Department of Health and Human Services. You had Emergency Management Victoria, Ambulance Victoria. These massive organizations, heads up, right? All standing together in a circle. It's like 9:30 in the morning. And I'm like sneaking behind the scenes, trying to figure out what they're talking about. So the issue was, who's gonna provide or deliver the food up to the buildings? I swear to God, I kid you not, right? And then every department was handballing it to the next. Or we got a directive that we can't go upstairs. We got told that we can only do X, Y, and Z. We got told from our senior bosses or our leaders that we can't do X, Y, and Z. I swear to God. So literally no one had a plan. There was no plan.
Yeah,
everyone was passing the ball to the next person. And I'm just there, absolutely fucking losing my shit. I'm like, are you taking the piss here? Like, are you serious? You've locked down 3,000 people into these buildings, and you guys are sitting here complaining about who's going to deliver the food.
It just showed there's no care. Like, they didn't even, when they decided this was going to happen, it was like you said, it was a snap lockdown, but there was no plan for this to happen. Nah. And I feel like there was just no care either. Like, okay, we don't have a plan. It's just, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. I was picking up my cousin that day. And I'm calling her, I'm like, there's police downstairs, you know? And she's like, what? And we were just going to my other cousin's house nearby. Yeah. Imagine she lives there. She's come down and she's seeing police. They didn't even see it on the news. It was like no one was warned, nothing. And then they just went into as I'm coming down, they're like, you know, trying to check where she's going and everything. And then it's just, I don't know. That was probably one of the most frustrating things. But yeah, you did see a lot of people come together after that.
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful in a time of distress, though. Like, obviously, it was a traumatic time for everyone involved. But seeing the amount of young, old people outside of our communities, coming together, like that amount of organizations and businesses and groups that donated and kind of volunteered and lending their time, you know, it was absolutely brilliant. But here's where I have to say, right, we can't just only come together in times of distress.
Yeah.
Like, that can't be the only time where community is united.
Yeah.
You know, we have to start normalizing supporting each other, getting behind each other's events, programs, workshops.
Yeah.
You know, a sister or a brother opens a business, right? We're all there. We're all supporting, you know? Because if you're only coming together when something's wrong or people are, you know, being, you know, abused or their rights are being violated, like, it's not really, it's good. We should support each other, but let's support each other
when
with
it's
everyone.
too late or like when it's already happened.
Of course,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, like, I feel like, well, obviously that whole situation was disgusting, and I can't believe that something like that would happen. But even for me, kind of like watching online and like hearing and seeing what the community was doing, it just kind of, it was inspiring at the same time. It's like, okay, look what we can do without you guys. So I think that that's something like, and I think like it probably pushed and inspired a lot of people to start getting into community work, because it's like, you know, it's more self-driven. Because I think a lot of the issues with a lot of organizations still to this day is that they're kind of facilitated and run by people who are either gatekeepers that hold power, or, you know, and that defers a lot of us from even wanting to like work in these spaces. So I think like people like you are kind of like represents that, okay, like this is actually a space where we can make a difference. And I think that everything that happened at the Tout during that time, during the lockdown, it kind of showed that. So I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah. I want to like switch the conversation a little bit to, because I wanted to talk about youth crime and just like your, we know you like advocate for it and you've been in the space for a while, and there was a video that you put up a while ago that like basically went viral about you talking about just like stressing the urgency to like that we need to stop what's going on, right? I feel like from my perspective, it looks like it's getting worse from what I've seen, and it's just, it's more like the crimes that are happening, how people are getting younger and younger. Like you're hearing stories of like 15-year-olds like killing, you know, and I don't know if it's because social media exists now and then like we're just seeing, we just have more access to information, people are recording it, people are putting it up, that's why it looks worse? Or do you think that, you know, the crimes are actually, they're getting, people are going, it's getting worse? Because you're even hearing things like postcode wars. People are having postcode wars, people are having, it's just, also, I don't know if they're just like looking at what's happening overseas and then bringing it here. Like, what's your take on all of that? Yeah,
so I think I'll answer it in a couple of ways, right? So if we look at youth offending in Australia, right? If we look at the data, the stats, etc., it's gone down significantly. Like, that's what the data tells you. Over the last 6-7 years, probably over the last 10 years, and we're still seeing a decrease in youth offending nationwide. Okay. But then you look at what's happening in the context of Melbourne, right? It's, although youth offending is going down, you've got the media who constantly puts up stories about young men committing crimes, stabbings, etc., right? Which is wrong, but they do it in a way where it's like fear-mongering. Like a clickbait as well. It's like, oh, violence in the community, no one's safe, lock your doors, X, Y, and Z, right? But I think the types of violence or the level of crime we're seeing right now being perpetrated by young people is something that we haven't seen before. There's a difference between having a one-on-one, a bit of a fight, you know, than actually stabbing someone and taking someone's life. And it's not happened once, it hasn't happened twice. Like, there's been a number of young people who unfortunately have been fatally stabbed and passed away. There's been an even higher number of young people who've been involved in serious incidents where they had to go to the hospital, they had to get some treatment. Now they're victims, their families are also victims, their friends, their peers, their community. It's all over the place, right? What makes things different now is social media. Social media, it's a driver. You could say it's a bit of a driver, because if there's a situation that's happening in community and young people are fighting and a young person gets stabbed, right? That's being uploaded on TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram,
So crazy, yeah.
Snapchat. That video is going viral. Everyone's getting that video now, you know? Now, young people are sharing those videos, and now it's the back and forth, you know? Tit for tat.
That's what it is. It's like revenge. Now I'm coming for you, and I'm coming. Yeah.
I came to your area, I did this, and now I'm going to do this to your cousin. This is that, blah, blah. That's the situation where I wouldn't say violence has increased, but we're seeing it a lot more due to young people posting things everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of an issue, right? But if we look at violence, rather than I often say, like, you know, there's this researcher, I forgot his name, but I listened to one of his TED Talks, right? He talks about, rather than looking at violence as a crime or as in a punitive way, right? We have to kind of take it as a public health response.
Okay.
Break it down, right?
Yeah.
So, COVID-19.
Yeah.
We were all stuck in our homes. There was COVID-19, you know, infections, you know, people, you know, obviously you have COVID, you have to lock yourself 5 days, 7 days isolation, whatever, right? So let's just say the person who's a victim or perpetrator of violence has COVID. So you see the violence as COVID.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? I've been stabbed. Yeah? So I've got, you know, I'm sick right now, right?
Yeah.
I've been stabbed. Now, as some of these young people, what they want to do now is, hey, listen, I want my revenge, my retaliation. So I'm going to go to your neighborhood now. I'm going to do some damage in your area. Now you've been affected. Yeah. You're contagious now.
Yeah.
Then now you're getting your brothers and your cousins and your homies, and you're going to Rochelle's peoples, right?
Yeah.
Now everyone's infected. You see it? It spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
You know, you got kids are involved, older brothers are involved, mothers are involved. It spreads throughout the whole entire community, right? But what if you stop and say, boom, I've been affected by crime, I've been stabbed, deal with me.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, people, it doesn't stop at deal with me. So like, how do you know, get out of, like, how do you get people to realize that, you know, they need to deal with it there instead of retaliating? Because I think that's the problem. People keep going, and you know, you feel hurt as someone who is like, you've lost your siblings, or you've lost your son, or your whatever it is. You know,
I often say, before it even gets to that, early intervention, prevention, before we even get to that stage, and you can't get to every situation. You can't get to every dilemma, right? But you could do a lot of work beforehand to work with young people, to work with communities, to get people best prepared, right? So it's about doing that early intervention work in your schools, your community center, your religious groups, your sporting organizations, you know, having workshops, programs where it doesn't have to be crime focused, like sports and rec, employment, education, civic participation, you know, getting young people involved in activities where you're kind of deterring things like this from happening, right? And in your old situation where you got a young person who's been stabbed or seriously assaulted, right? Rather than waiting for that young person to heal up, and now he's on a madness right now. He's gonna go out. This guy's filled with rage. He's gonna go out into community and call all his cousins and his boys, etc. Grab him and her, console them, talk to them. I know you're going through something right now. I know, you know, you feel pain, anger, hate, you're raging, you know. There's other ways that we can deal with this, Let's think about you. Let's think about your family. Do you want to go down this road? Sitting down with the young person and kind of, first you have to validate what they're going through. You can't, the young kid's been stabbed. He wants revenge, right? But just kind of talking him through, hey, listen, your next action or your next play can impact you in this way here. You can look at 10 years. Your brothers and sisters might be victims. They might be attacked. Or your mum's house might get ran through, you know? Is it really worth it? But who's having these conversations though? That's the thing. You got young people showing up at hospitals, at the Alfred, at the Children's, at Royal Melbourne, in the middle of the night with stab wounds, lacerations. You know, who's talking to them? Like, we don't know who's coming in, who's coming out.
Actually,
So we can't really get to the issue quick enough because we're always chasing, you know, our tail at the moment. You know?
But do you think that I don't know, from your experience, do you feel like young people are like receptive to that information when you go to them and you're talking to them about that? Because I don't know, I think there definitely is maybe like a misconception, and I'm gonna just, you know, tell you from sometimes when I hear these stories, I feel like I'm always wondering, did they, like, at such a young age, like, what did you go through to make you want to kill someone, or maybe not want to, but like take it that far, you know? And sometimes it's hard when you hear the stories again and again and again to have compassion for the people that are doing it, but then also you're like, they're just kids. So when I hear, oh, they're now going to get locked up for X amount of time, or this person now has died because of this, you still know it's not right because they're so young, but then it's so hard to keep kind of like, I feel it's just hard. It's like, are they receptive to that information? Is it because they don't have, you know, like a support system around them? Is it because they've been through their own traumas? Like, what's the story behind these things?
It's an interesting one, and I think I want to say, like we have to, in these kind of situations, we have to also acknowledge the victims, you know. And I think that isn't done a lot. We often talk about the perpetrators, but also talking about the victims, whether it be the young person, their family, their communities, you know, because they're feeling some pain too. They've been affected by this. Their lives have been changed forever, right? Yeah. But if you look at some of the young people who are involved in this, right, and I think it's kind of taking an approach where you have to look at their lives, their whole entire life from start to finish. And it involves, you know, you got to do some work around, okay, talk to me about your upbringing. Was mum home? Was dad home? You know, what have you gone through? Were you supported? Were you neglected? You know, what was school like? Were you kicked out of school? You know, did you experience racism? How's mum and dad's situation? Are they unemployed? You know, were they behind their bills? There's a multitude of things that can happen. A multitude, right? When we often look at the behavior, which is a symptom. A young person stabbing someone is actually a symptom, but behind that you have to look at the root causes. Yeah, what led you to this position here, right? That's just that. Then you add things like music. Then you add things like social media. Then you add things like the whole respect and notoriety and my name and, you know, my pride, stuff like that. Yeah, you got one whole massive, you know, concoction of like, yo, now it's madness. Where do you start? You know, but are they receptive to it? I'll be honest. Some young people that I've worked with, you know, over the last couple of years, if you actually sit down with them, and you're not gonna do it, how do I say this? You're not gonna achieve the results overnight. Yeah. I'll be lying to you if I said, hey, listen, I speak to a youngin right now, have a conversation, take him out for a feed, and that's it. Yeah. That's a band-aid solution. Yeah. I know that. I have to consistently be there for that young person, work with them, not only them, but also their families too. Also some of their friends, you know, and kind of put some structure in their life, whether it be in school, work, getting an apprenticeship, getting them involved in sports and rec, right? And slowly you start to see them change, right? And also the flip side of it is you are going to see some young people who tell you, brother, go fuck yourself. Yeah. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know my life. You don't know what I deal with, my mom struggling, this, that, you know? You're not going to win every day, you know? But the wins you get, you embrace it, you know? You take it, I
don't know. I feel like it's so important to build rapport and trust, because you can't, and I think that, like, I see that a lot in community, like people think that they can just like walk up to someone and just instantly be like have that connection and like make that change. And I also think like relatability is really important. So I guess with young people, like talking to someone like you and being like, okay, instead of just someone you know, like some like a white person,
like a random youth worker,
it's like they can relate to you and they can be like, you know, if he can get to this place, like maybe I can. But what would you say is kind of like some of the main misconceptions that there are around youth crime and why young people commit crime in community, or like some of the main, like, I guess stereotypes that are put out there that are just like untrue? I
think it depends. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions, right? One being, the biggest one for me, is it's all young people. We have to understand, like, as a community, right, we're talking about a very, very small minority of young people who commit these serious crimes. It's not every young person. It's not every black Pacifica or, you know, person of color. You know, very, very small group of young people. Almost probably even 50 young people, probably even less than that, who commit some of these crimes. So it's not every young person, right? But also the frequency of it too. Yeah, I think
like it's not as frequent.
It's not as frequent, where I think sometimes you can. There's a lot of media hype behind it, and then once you start buying into that, you think everywhere is unsafe, right? And I think that makes the situation a bit worse, where now young people are staying home, where they don't want to go outside, they don't want to get involved in sports and rec, they don't want to go to their parks or play basketball because the media is telling them, and Peter Hitchener and these guys are telling them, hey brother, if you go outside you get shanked. That's not the case, There's been a number of unfortunate situations that have happened over the past couple of years, but it's not as serious. It's serious, but it's not as frequent as you think it is. But then the other misconception is the big one: these young people are all criminals. They're all hoodlums, they're all thugs, they're all gang members, You see them on Facebook, deport them back home, this, that, right? Listen, firstly.
The online, the stuff that they say, if you just read the comment section,
madness,
it will ruin your week.
Yo, you can't deport someone if they're Australian citizens, fam.
What's going on?
How most of these kids are born and raised here, right? But not just that, like, you don't understand, fam. You're talking from a place of privilege, You don't understand the struggles, the barriers. You don't understand the stories or the journeys of these young people and their families, right? And I'm not saying that's not me supporting or justifying, hey, listen, they're committing crimes because that's right, But there's things that are happening behind the scenes. Once you actually sit down with these young people and you get to a point where they trust you, they feel comfortable around you, and you build that rapport, and then you listen to their stories, right? Literally, like, hey, I understand. Like, I'll be honest, like, I'm not surprised, because you've never been listened to. You've never been cared for. You've been neglected all your life. You've faced discrimination every step of the way. You've been counted out from school, from community, from life, right? So you've got this rage inside of you. You've got this anger, like, hey, listen, like, no one gave a shit about me, And the only way that people are going to see me is if I do this, which isn't the case, So it's about being more understanding. We have to be more empathetic as a community, Obviously, we're going through some challenges at the moment, right? But every community has. Look at it. But when the Italians and the Europeans came, they had their fair share of troubles. When the Vietnamese came, of course, they had their fair share of troubles. When the Middle Eastern communities came, same situation. It's gonna pass, But we just have to. We can't neglect. We can't push people away. Like, it's easy to be like, hey, listen, you know what? Yeah, you're trash, fam. Like, you're just embarrassing us. You're just doing the most right now, dip. Like, we got to be more understanding and kind of bring these people in and support them, I guess, Do
you think we're heading in that direction as a community, or do you feel like people are too, like, judgmental, or, like, do you think, do you think? I think
we're heading in a better direction now, where I think our parents and that generation, I call them the no bullshit generation,
100%. They don't deal with anything.
I call them the no bullshit generation. They're very straightforward, It's a very straight line, It's good and bad. There's right, there's wrong. There's left and there's right, Then us, we're a bit more. We can see the bigger picture, right? So I think now with we've got young, talented, vibrant, passionate, energetic leaders, community practitioners, youth workers coming through. I think that's
going to make a big difference.
So we got numbers right now. We've got numbers right now, and when those young people come into the space, which they already are, then we've got resources, So beforehand, it was only a couple of us. Now there's a couple, like 50, 60 of us, So we're we could do some.
What about in the greater Australian public? Do you think that just because, I remember back in the day, like, it was like, send them back to Africa. There was this idea like black people are just born bad, or there was just there was no real tolerance. And when you see a story on like 7 News or something, and you read the comments, and it's like, it's gut-wrenching, like what some people say and what some people think. Do you think that there is a little bit more, like, more of a sense of compassion and understanding for people's experiences from the, like, wider Australian public? And if so, or if there isn't, like, how can we, like, what would you say to help people understand?
It's interesting because we live in a country where, like, you'd be stupid to say there isn't racism.
Yeah, it's crazy though, because it was just a couple of years ago that I would have conversations with people and they would just have no understanding.
But it's, I often say you have to be curious, like both sides, you know. You know, when our parents first came to the country, right, they did their part to assimilate and integrate, you know. They didn't just stay in their corner and say, you know what, we're here, but we're not going to integrate into your society, you know. They bought into the Australian values and the cultures and the norms, right? I was born and raised here, right? So I think, you know, I've also built in and did X, Y, and Z. But I think you're going to get those individuals regardless. There's a small, that white noise, I call it, you know, there's Facebook comments, etc. They're very uneducated, naive people who don't know the full story, right? But there are other individuals who are actually a lot more curious and will tell you, hey, listen, tell me about your community. Like, forget the media. I actually want to hear about like what's going on. I think I rate those people, you know, who actually take the time. When you
actually come with that energy as well, it's like, I'm trying to understand you. I'm not just trying to tell you who you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have a lot of like people telling us who we are in these, you know what I mean? Just even being a minority or like person of color, whatever it is. There's a lot of white people that they already kind of have this idea of, what kind of people we are. And so like they just bring the, you know what I mean? They just, like throw stereotypes on you.
Yeah, I also feel like there's this idea that it's just like you just need to fit in. Like if you are committing crime or it's just like it's this lack of understanding of like, and that's what I wanted to ask you as well, like the bigger picture of like engaging a young person who's committing crime, not just being like, okay, here, like fit into this white school or fit into this space. And, you know, if you're experiencing like, or you know, if you're committing crime or your trauma is too much, then, you know, just push you to the side. We don't want to hear
it,
Yeah, it's just like, I just think that there needs to be more of a conversation where it's like, engagement is so important and engagement from the right people is so important. And I just think that needs to be acknowledged like across the board. Because I think like a lot of I keep saying white a lot of people like they come into these spaces with zero understanding of the experience of like you know, someone who has parents who you know, came to this country as asylum seekers, who struggled to support themselves, who were completely disengaged from school, like all of those things that you just said. I feel like it takes a level of empathy and understanding, and listening is so important as well. And I just think that like sometimes some people can have a really lazy response, like they'll try to engage, but it's not real engagement.
But do they want to engage though?
It can be a box
ticker, right?
And I hate that because they take up a lot of space. You know what I mean?
But these are the same people that like who make some pretty big decisions for our communities, you know. So you're talking from a government lens, right? Like how funding is allocated to certain areas. What are the priority areas? What are the issues? You know, how are these programs designed, right? Who's having input in these?
Yeah.
Like who's sitting on these tables? Like you're talking about our communities, you're talking about our young people, you're talking about our mothers, you're talking about our trauma, our struggles, right? Who's advising you, fam?
So you actually have no idea what's going on.
Who are you talking to? You're coming to me with some piece of paper and say, Hanad, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z for you, right? Fam, you didn't speak to me, not even me. Who else did you speak to? Tell me one credible person in the community you spoke to. You spoke to a bunch of researchers and academics, and you read some papers about us. And then now you think you know me?
Yeah.
Nah, because you haven't taken the time to actually sit down and listen to us. Not just us. On the way here, I was listening to the radio. Obviously, you got the big referendum, the big vote. You know, the yes vote, right? I think the polls went down again today. You know, but it goes to show like, who's engaging? Like, do these people care? Like, generally speaking, like, do you actually care? Because the flip side of it is, I'll be very honest with you, right? It's the amount of young people I bring to a community event, and I love doing this. You got these organizations and councils that say, hey, listen, we want to engage your youth, we want to work with your community, bring the young people down, and we're gonna have a bit of some fun. We'll do some programs, etc. And I bring 20, 30 young brothers, we loud. We're mobbing, and you can see automatically how uncomfortable they are.
Yeah,
they're shaking, fam. like they're scared to engage. Say hello. Like these are human beings.
Shows they have no experience.
No experience. But
Yeah.
then don't talk the talk.
Yeah.
Don't talk the talk and say, hey, listen. And mind you, this isn't all practitioners, right?
No.
But for the ones that are out there, listen, don't talk the talk and say, hey, listen, we support, because when they get their funding and when they write their programs, we support African youth and African communities, etc. But when I bring you the community, you better be about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You better be about it.
Yeah.
It's just like they'll always be so quick to like stand on a platform, accept a award,
Exactly.
For uplifting and supporting our community. But it is really interesting how the people on the grounds, community workers, community officers, usually in positions that it should have more recognition, because if you want to they're the people that that connects community, and that's the most important thing, really.
Yeah.
Of course.
If you can't connect to them, or if you don't care to connect to them, then what is the point? And that's what happens a lot, in community work, where they will put hundreds of thousands of dollars into organizations that have no idea.
Because
and then they'll hire their community workers and blah blah blah, but it's still the people at the top who will happily step to the front and be like, on the back of the work that people in community have done, and accept all the praise. And I just think that it's like, it's just a bit dragged at this point. It just keeps happening.
Yeah. But
and I just think that, and again, like you said, that is by all means, that's not all.
No, it's not everyone. It's not everyone. But why do we allow it though?
Because it's kind of like they do hold a certain level of power, and then they give it to us.
Yeah.
But it's like, we'll give it to you if you guys do it like this. You know what I mean? It's like, you're talking about engaging community, and then like you said, you'll show them what engaging community looks like.
Yeah.
And we've been in situations like in our own work where it's a similar situation, but then once they start to feel like, okay, community might take over, or community has too much reach now, or too much access, they start to get uncomfortable, and they pull back, and they start to they're just barriers are coming up now. They're like, oh, this is starting to look a little bit different.
Of course.
But this is once community is community, you don't really have a say in how that looks.
Yeah.
But they just have their own kind of perspective of it. And then,
You mentioned. Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it pushes again, it's gatekeeping. That's what it is. They gatekeep these positions of power and kind of expect people on the ground to do all the grunt work. And again, it's horrible because it pushes people away. I know so many people who started, and I've heard horror stories as well. They start working, they're so passionate, they're yes, absolutely loving this. This is my passion, this is what I want to do, I genuinely want to help. They burn out and they're not recognized, and it just they end up leaving, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to go get an office job, or let me just work in somewhere that's I'm not going to have so much emotional labor. Because that's what it is for us. It's labor. Because you would know, you listen to the stories and you take it on and you care and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, I just think it's something that, needs to be addressed. Yeah,
I think as a community, right, and this is us looking internally, I think we're disorganized. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
So what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
We're disorganized. we're disorganized, as in you mentioned perfectly. Power. What power do we have? We haven't got political power. We've got representation is 0 to none. We haven't got the opportunity to make decisions that impact us, that are about us. And you touch the power, when you have to look at in society. We live in a democratic society, right? It's all about ones and zeros. It's a numbers game. Whether you look at local council, state government, federal, right? We all vote every 4 years. Council, state, federal. Most of the community votes just to avoid a fine. Yeah. Let's be real.
Let's be real.
The majority of people vote. They go to the ballots. They don't know who's running. They don't know what these guys are talking about. Listen, fam, I'm trying to avoid the fine. Here's my vote. Tick some random box and bless, right? But what if, as a community, we organize ourselves a bit? Yeah. What are our priorities? What's important to us? Let's think smart. let's think strategic, right? What do we want? In whatever council you're from, whatever state government area you're from, etc., right? Yo, what, as my minister, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for my community? We've never asked these questions. Let's think about it. But if you look at, there's other there's other multicultural community groups who do this very, very well.
Yeah.
Hats off to them.
Really?
The Indian community, hats off to them. They're killing it in this space.
How do they do that? What do you mean?
Because they obviously they have their different groups, right?
Yeah.
They're politically aware. They're politically active, right? So when it comes to voting, when it comes to engaging in that political space, right? They're moving together.
Yeah.
They're united. Because then what happens now is, now let's be real, right? When it comes to voting time, you got every minister, every state minister, or the guy or girl that wants to run. What are they doing? They're going to those communities.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Yeah,
What do you guys need? You want a new community center? You want a new playground? You want a new sporting facility? Talk to me. What do you want? I'm taking orders. Why? Because that minister has to come here. Why? Because we hold the votes.
Yeah.
You might not hold all the votes, but you can make some damage. If you got 4,000 or 5,000 community members, all live in the same area and they're all voting for that one person, you have to consult with me, right? We're not doing that. We're not even a factor. Then when we're complaining about government or how government treats our communities, all levels of government, right? When you're talking to a minister and you're saying, my community is going through 1, 2, and 3. But, listen, it's just you talking to me, Hanad.
Yeah.
Where's your community? The numbers add up. The numbers play a big role.
So how do we do that? How do we come together as a community? Like, what does that look like?
You put the bullshit aside. That's real shit. Put the bullshit aside. Like, if you're about it, be about it. Let's be real. Like, if you're about it, be about it. Put the bullshit aside. As brothers and sisters, listen, I can stand with you in any situation, in any space. Yeah, if we're really doing this, let's do this. Because it's been the last 20 years plus, we're talking about the same issues.
Yeah, literally.
Fam, we're talking about crumbs.
Yeah.
Like crumbs on the table, right? There's a whole entire pie, right? And we're fighting for crumbs. We're fighting for things that should be there already. Respect, we want housing, unemployment, we want schools, education, we want youth justice, stuff like that, right? We're not asking for much.
Yeah.
But the thing is, no one's gonna take us seriously if we don't take each other seriously, fam. That's the thing. Like, everyone is quick to look outside. For example, I'll tell you, right? Like, whenever there's an issue in the community, the first thing that the aunties or the young people say is, "What are the government doing?"
Yeah.
Bro, pause on the government, fam. What are we doing? We have to organize ourselves first. We have to come together. We have to be correct. Because right now, bro, the standards have dropped. If you want to stand with me, stand with me. And we have to be willing to work together.
I think it's also like, I think we need to also look at people's skills and what they can do. Because I think a lot of people look at it and they're like, okay, I might not be able to do what you're doing, but maybe in their own lane, there's something everyone can do.
Of course.
And I think people might feel like they can't contribute, So like, what do you think that would look like for people that are like not in the community space, but they can still do something,
It comes back to being organized.
Yeah.
Right? So
we're literally, we don't communicate
100%,
at all.
we don't communicate.
Yeah.
So we let's not put people in boxes, right? But let's start grouping people, right? Yo, the lawyers, boom. Who are the lawyers in the community? Yeah, we've got 25, 30 lawyers. Boom, you guys are over there, right? We've got the creatives, we've got the podcasters, the videographers, the producers, the people in that space. Boom, you guys are over there. Then you got the community practitioners, the social workers, right? Like, let's get organized, right? The nurses, the medical staff, boom, you guys are the business owners, right? Because then when something happens, we know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and
we know exactly who to tap in.
Yeah.
But right now, as you mentioned, no one's talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to voting time, let's be real. No one's gonna take you seriously because, yo, fam, you guys just vote just to vote. Who are you voting for? Imagine if we actually sat down, and had a minister come to us, 2,000 deep, 3,000, 4,000 deep. Yeah, this is numbers, and we say, and before this guy even walks in, this is the agenda. This is what we want.
I don't know. I think that's interesting. The only thing I would say is I think that there's a lot of like mistrust in in government,
Yeah.
and because of things like the way that the African community has been treated in the past by people who are
Police,
supposed to
etc.,
represent us and support us, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because I've been like a part of a lot of community consultations and all
Yeah.
of that stuff where it's like you kind of you say I want this, like this is the issue, blah blah blah. They'll just give you like a little $50 voucher, and then like they may write a report if they do, like communities never seeing it. So I think like things like that also contribute to this like unwillingness to kind of like come together. And then of course, like I think there's we have so many systemic like barriers to in terms of coming together as well, like lack of education, housing, employment, and those things come from like such a long like a build up of just being kind of like again like pushed aside, and our voices aren't heard. But also like what you're saying is completely right, because all we can do at this point as like young people in our generation is like speak on this stuff and come together, because it's like power in numbers and all of that.
I think like correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what he's also trying to say is like the power is in us being together as a community.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like that. I think voicing it to like government and other people is like a result of it, and then we can like change systems. But even if we come together as a community, like we know who we can go to, and even in that is like a sense of just like, I don't know, there's just like belonging and security and all of that stuff. Because you do look at other ethnicities, and they even just have like a go-to with certain things, and we're just not connected in that way at all.
I think being in the space that I'm in right now, I can see like whether it's the Indian community, the Vietnamese community, whatever community is, right? These guys like they are so strategic when it comes to dealing with government, right? And then you look in contrast, you look at how we do things, right? You got 4 or 5 different organizations who work with community, who support community, going to government, asking for complete different things. Like I said, we all have the same issues. We see what's going on, it's not, it's right there in front of you. So why do we have to go there separately?
Do you think that it's our fault as well though? Because there's a lack of trust within the community. Like even, I'm going to take it somewhere else, not even within government.
But can I stop there for a bit? That's how it's designed though. It's meant to be like that. That's how they designed the playbook, right? They want you competing with your brothers and sisters. They want you competing with that organization, But
I feel like black people are the only people that do it. Africans, like when you look at Asians and when you look at Southeast Asians, you look at the Indian community, they even, when it comes to businesses, they support each other. We do that now, but like, I feel like, we're going to find a better deal, we'll go somewhere else. Happily, because that's the truth. Like it is like that. Whereas I feel like with even like all other ethnicities,
they back in their own.
They back their own. They go to each other, and then from there, like it starts off like that, and then they build. But I feel like we don't do that as much.
It's a circular economy, Nipsey Hussle, shout out, all money in, no money out. Honestly, all money in, no money out. You have to support, like, for the sisters, right? Like, how you buying like hair products from these random like white stores, right? Nothing wrong with them, right? Well, you got the aunties in Footscray, man. They're selling it on the low.
Yeah.
And it's there too.
Who goes to the white stores?
No, but I'm just hypothetical. Like, for example, right? But honestly, like, you got the aunties, bro. Like, you're going to Nobu or you're going to X, Y, Z, spending $300-400, right? Yeah. But fam, like, I can go to this shop here and I can get that food will slap a lot harder. Yeah. But why don't we support our own? Yeah. Why is it that we want to go elsewhere and look elsewhere where everything we have is internal? We got the shops, we got the lawyers, we got the businesses, we got the manufacturers, we got the hairdressers, we got everything we need. But why can't we support each other? Why don't we want to back each other in? Or what is it? And a lot of it comes from distrust. For example, like there's a brother that opened a mechanic shop recently, young brother, because hey, listen, open a mechanic shop, this, that, come to me, come get your car serviced. I can easily go to Mazda or Toyota because I know they're a household brand, right? but yo, I'm gonna spend less, yeah, because he'll be cheaper than Mazda and thing. And go to this brother here, give him a crack, give him a shot. Yeah, he's learning this, that, you know. But you test it out, you see how you go.
That's
how communities are formed. Because you look at, you know, it was interesting because I lived in China for a bit, right? And coming back to Melbourne, I kind of spent time with the Chinese.
How long did you live in China for?
Bro, like a year and a half.
A year and a half?
Yeah, a year and a half. I was out there in China for a year and a half, just doing some studies and just kind of living life out there for a bit, you know. But
year and a half is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's wild. But when I came back, I spent some time because obviously I ate some food over there, so I spent some time with the Chinese community over here. I went to Chinatown and spent with all the Chinese stores, right? You should see how they operate. Like, it's militant. Yeah? Everything. Pharmacy, Chinese pharmacy. Yeah? School, after school program, Chinese school. Yeah. Shopping center, Chinese shopping center.
That's
you get hairdresser, like they know what's going on.
It's also like it's so hard. It's like an African community. Like growing up, we had no representation. We all kind of like, and we grew up in like these separate communities as well. And our parents kind of came and you know, got almost no support to be able to like, I don't know. It's just like, I think that at the same time, it's just kind of like cutting ourselves a break in a way where it's like these things take time to build. And also like culturally, you know, there's cultural factors in a way that like as Africans, we work differently to, you know, other communities, and there's less of us here, you know, like
there's definitely all these other things. I just feel like, and also I feel like we've been kind of told that there's like one piece and everyone is competing for that one piece. That's what it feels like, you know, sometimes, but we don't realize the bag, whatever it is so much bigger. But we all feel like we're chasing the same thing. We have to compete with each other because only one of us are allowed in the room or whatever it is.
Which is what it's been like.
But then I feel like it's a perspective. Like we need to start shifting the mentality and realizing that, you know, you can put someone on and still be on. You can, and I just think it's just like there's a scarcity mindset in our community.
Of course.
And that's just what's keeping us, like holding us back.
You know what's interesting? Shout out to my boy Hufflam. You know, he's a barber in Sunshine, multicultural barbers, right? And I was talking to him last night, and I was having a bit of a conversation, and then talking about barbers right now. There is about 25 to 30 different barbershops. Ridiculous.
In Melbourne?
In Melbourne, like, bro, there's everywhere, heaps.
African ones, you
mean? Every corner you go to,
there's always a new one.
Like Footscray, Sunshine, in Heidelberg, in the ends, etc. You know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he was telling me, he's like we start off, you know, all together, and everyone just disperses. I want to do my own thing. I want to venture out. I want to do my own thing. No one wants to work together. But think about it, right? If you're a barber, right? Now you opened your own building, you have to pay council rates. You have to pay water, electricity, gas, etc. You got to pay for all those other overheads, right? But imagine if all these barbers in the area, opened a super warehouse or superstore, one-stop shop.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
They do that in the UK. You know, all the aunties in the shop.
Yeah.
But think about it, one-stop shop. We've got like 10 of the best barbers in Melbourne, all working from under the same roof. That place is making money.
Yeah.
Like we're stronger as a collective, fam. You know, but it's always pride, ego. I want to do me. You know, rather than watching your own pockets, you're watching the next man's pockets.
Yeah.
It's like, fam, like really. And I think it's that mentality where. If we can't get over this, but I think to be quite honest, this generation is a lot better though. I do have to say, like this generation, what I'm starting to realize, especially in the community space, right, is collaboration, partnerships, amazing. You know, you got this organization working with that group, or that basketball organization working with this AOD group, etc. You know, that cross pollination is amazing. Keep that energy going. 100%. You know, you guys are doing a podcast with the boys that are talking trophies. Bless. Keep the vibes going. You know. But we still got to do more to advocate. You know, we still have to connect those dots, and that's the important piece here, because no one can do it alone. Not one individual, one organization or group can solve these issues. You know, so the more we are connected and the more we are working together in partnership, the better our chances are.
I think it's what you see to your point too, Rahel, how you were saying like it's time. like all these other communities, they've been here for a lot longer than we have, you know,
Yeah.
especially in these like with these numbers.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
time and representation,
Of course.
like
Yeah.
Of
I think
course.
that makes a huge difference to like
Yeah.
how we work as a community. Yeah.
more people working in the space.
Mhm.
We wanted to also talk to you about fatherhood. We know
Ooh.
you have 2 kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is blessed. I'm just gonna put the first question out
Yeah.
there around it. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like for you? I guess becoming a father. Like, are you ever like ready for that experience? And did it change your perspective on life and like what your purpose is? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's this song. It was weird starting like this. You know, Wale and
I love these kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's kinda,
That's wild. You know, there's this song called Matrimony by Wale and Usher.
Yeah.
And there's an opening 20 seconds where the guy's talking about like, even if you think you're ready, you're still not ready. And you know, it's like a roller coaster. Yeah. Fatherhood, I think, you know, being a young dad, you know, I've got 2 young, beautiful kids. My daughter's 2.5. My son just turned 3 months, you know.
Wow.
One of the most amazing experiences ever. Like, there's nothing that beats this. My whole 29 years of life, right?
Yeah, wow.
Nothing that beats this right here. This stage that I'm in right now in my life is the most, I don't know, loving, like amazing. Just, I'm going through this journey of learning. You know, I'm learning how to be a dad, and you know, I'm dealing with my young girl right now who's, you know, emotional, and you know, she gives me these vibes.
Is it two different vibes? Obviously, your son's only 3
Yeah.
months, so
No, but yeah,
really
but
get
my
much,
my
you know?
daughter, see, I treat my daughter like a tomboy. You know?
Oh.
What do you mean?
as a tomboy, where like me and her watching UFC on Sundays and this is that, right? But then she shows me her soft side too.
Yeah.
And there's times where like I have to like, I look at that, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, she'll come, she does this thing where it's amazing, where like Sunday mornings, you know, like she sleeps in our room sometimes, and then she'll wake you up with the little palms, and she'll give you the kisses, you know. Those moments you can never, like,
so priceless.
it's I think I was talking to the boys about this, and the boys often ask me, yo, listen, how is fatherhood? Like, how is being married, but you know, how is fatherhood? You know, it's a responsibility, you know, and there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be times where you don't know what the fuck's going on, you know, but it's being patient, being resilient, but also it's the most important thing is living in the moment. My daughter being 2.5 right now, yeah, I look back on Snapchats, bro, if you ever want to know how fast time flies, look at your nieces and nephews or your kids. Like, I went from holding her sleeping on my chest, and now she's giving me attitude, saying, it's interesting, but it's definitely changed me as a man.
Yeah.
You know, I think fatherhood definitely changes you. If anyone tells you, yo, listen, I'm still the same guy, fam, you're capping.
Yeah.
You are capping.
Or you're not really. Like,
yeah,
doing the
you are
thing.
capping now, but honestly, it changes you completely. Just the way you think, the way you move, the way you act. You're a lot more. You're not hyper vigilant, but you're a lot more focused on things, you know. And as for me, like as a man, like it's like someone put like an Energizer battery pack. You know, I'm hungry now. In all facets of life, in life, where I want to grind, I want to hustle, I want to every day I want to do something. Why? Because I got responsibilities now. You know, I got my partner and I got my 2 kids where they rely on me. You know, so I got to make sure I go and get it right. But it's also taking time away and spending time with your kids, you know, the weekends, when I come back home from work. And as you mentioned, like I work in an environment where highly traumatic, you're dealing with problems and issues, etc. But the moment I walk through those doors, everything stops.
You're like, it's different.
It's time for me and my kids, you know. I'm goofy, running around, having tea parties with my daughter, you know. It's vibes.
I remember when we were setting up the podcast and we were trying to figure out times, and I was like calling you and letting you know, okay, this is what we want to talk about. And then you were saying how one of your friends just became a father too, and he's like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Was it like that for you too when you first?
You don't know. Yeah. Like, I think I didn't have a lot of homies or friends that were dads, you know. I got a lot of the older cousins, you know. And I think as men, I think I'll be real. I talk to the boys, you know. Like, yo, fam, how'd you deal with this? Or, you know, what's your solution to this? Or, hey, what nappy cream do you use, fam? You know, Like, you feel me? Like, we have to normalize those conversations.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what's crazy, right? It's the sisters do it a lot better.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not normal for you guys.
It's weird. I think, you hang out with the boys, right? And they ask, hey, how's the kids? Yeah? And then you're expected to give like a very simple, plain answer. Like, oh, the kids are good.
Yeah.
But my kids are fucking amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about the good, the bad. I'm talking about everything. And then now, as we get older, there's a lot more brothers that are having kids and getting married,
Yeah.
Our conversations have completely changed. We're not talking about UFC and footy, this, that. We're talking about, hey, fam, what pram are you buying, my guy? Like, what's going on? Or what play center do you go to? Or how are your kids? Or what kindergarten do you take them to? Or you're having those conversations, which are completely different now,
It's so good that you guys are all like actually getting involved and talking as well,
Oh, yeah. It's with my circle.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
For the boys that don't have kids, and I do this thing, and apologies to they know who I'm talking about. I send them Snapchats of like me in my zone.
Yeah.
The kids yelling, screaming, me changing the diapers, or just me waking up 4 a.m. in the morning, feeding my little boy.
Oh, you send those videos?
And these guys are like, yo, H, fam, you're not really doing us a favor. This is more like a contraceptive pill, They're like, fam, like, you're not really selling this to me,
Yeah.
But it's life.
Yeah.
It's early mornings, late nights, the house is going off, it's going crazy. But when you get that time to kind of relax and chill, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, yeah.
I love that. I think what you said about like normal, not just like, because I know a lot of fathers are involved with raising their kids and stuff, but there are some that aren't. And traditionally it's kind of been like more of a woman's role. But I think like, I don't know, I just think that's like so cute how you're like
all
have
of
your
the
little
little
fathers
guy.
club.
Tea party with your daughter.
Because a lot of I don't even know if it's like a thing. It's like a state-run thing, but in Victoria, like new mums are kind of they can be placed in like support groups as well, because obviously motherhood it's beautiful, but it can be traumatizing. It can be challenging. So they have that space to be able to like relate and connect to other mums, and I think it's just as important for depending on how involved they are with their kids, to have that space, or at least like to be able to talk about it. So
but we do have a father's deficit in the community. That's it's true. Like we can't beat around the bush.
Yeah, we
like
don't always see like the father in the house.
Yeah. A lot of, especially with a lot of the young people that I work with. Once you actually ask the question, who's at home? There's a high number like young people where dad is never around, dad's not there, dad's not in the picture.
Do you think it's changing with this generation?
It depends. I think so. I think so, and that's only from my context, But we gotta celebrate black fathers, man. I think we don't do that enough, man.
Yeah.
I think it's not weak, You're not being weak, you're not being soft, You should be absolutely proud that, hey, listen, you know what? I'm a dad. I'm gonna embrace it. Yes, you're gonna see me at the plaza with the pram, the little fanny pack, running around, But that's me. Like it's not like we don't all have to be like super macho, And I think having those conversations as men, like we're raising kids, and I should be comfortable enough to talk to you about, hey fam, like, this is what I'm dealing with. What are you dealing with, and I think it starts with us, and being,
This is I'm saying you saying that as well is just huge. Like to come, because I feel like other black men are gonna watch this. They better be watching this. We need more black men on this, this podcast. But they're gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, oh, Hanad is someone that I can relate to. You have the same experiences as them growing up, like whatever it is, but they can see themselves in you. And then it's like, you're taking so much pride and joy in being a dad. They're gonna love that too. I feel like it's just, we don't see the stories. We don't see how people, it's always the mum that loves them, like motherhood, and is so excited about having kids and all that. But we don't hear the dad story.
You gotta flip the narrative, like 110%. Like you gotta flip that narrative. Like it should be okay. I tell when the boys ask me too, like like how was it when you first met your daughter and your son, or when my wife gave birth? Shout out to my baby girl, by the way. Bro, I'm telling you, but my brother, I cried like a little sissy, fam. Like a big man thing. Like, this is the first time like I've held like my kid. That moment is, you can't put it into words. Like honestly, as a father, like it's the proudest moment of your whole entire life, like meeting your newborn, right? And that emotion, you carry that through forever. You know, and where as my daughter's getting older, you know, I find myself where her childcare, they have like these events, bring your father day, or you have these little showcases, you know. I'm in there talking to the other dads, and you know, having a conversation with them. We're growing, fam. Like we're growing. This is life, you know, and we just gotta celebrate these moments. You know, we can't shy. We can't make it awkward, you know. You should never be in a situation where you can't talk about life, you can't talk about kids, you can't talk about your experiences, you know. As a man, nah, you gotta talk about work. Nah, bro, bun that, bro. It's talk about everything, normalize it, because if you don't have these conversations, the youngins growing up, they're looking at us like, okay, boom, now this is how we have to move, you know. Nah, you gotta speak about this kind of stuff.
Did you grow up in like an affectionate household?
100%. Family of 9, 3 sets of twins.
Whoa.
So my mom had 3 sets of.
Were you thinking you were going to get twins?
I was scared. I was scared, you know. But no, I got 5 sisters, you know. I got 5 sisters, so you know, having those conversations with my sisters, etc. You know. But I think I'll tell you a funny story. My dad. God bless him. When my wife was pregnant, right? She obviously, when you're pregnant, you're going through your hormones and emotions, etc. And we're going for a walk. This is when she's like probably like 28 weeks pregnant. And as I'm tying my shoes, before I saw her, she was okay, excited for the walk. I was tying my shoes, right? And as I got back up, she's in a ball of tears, crying, you know. And I'm like, fam, like, yo, are you good? Like, she goes, I don't know, I'm just crying. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So I call my dad. I'm like, yo, hey, Albo, like, yo, what is all of this about? He goes, oh, I don't know. Because it's life, bro. Because yo, my dad didn't tell me this shit. like deal with it, you know. So it's about.
So you didn't have an answer for it.
Nah,
he was just like, I don't know what's going on.
I asked him. I said, hey, listen, why? What's up with all the emotions and the crying? This, that. He goes, yeah, it's just life, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Did you know about this? He goes, nah, no one told me about this. So that's his way of telling me, like, yo, figure it out. And you do. And I think it's people often tell you, like, you know, obviously when you're becoming a new parent, everyone's quick to give you tips, gems, do this, do that, don't do this, yeah, cool, whatever. I want to do it how I want to do it, you know? And whatever mistakes I make the mistakes, you know? But it's a journey, and I think it's absolutely brilliant.
It sounds like it's like a beautiful, like a bittersweet. I feel like it would be a bittersweet journey having we always talk about it, like with other mothers that come on and hear their story as well. So I think it would just be intense but beautiful.
It's intense. You're gonna feel like shit sometimes, because there's a lot going on. Like there's a lot going on at home. You know, the young kids, you know, this one needs to have a shower, this one needs a nappy change, you gotta, you know, get the clothes ready. Like there's a lot happening, you know, and I think I'm lucky enough where like my brothers, my friends, my close networks, they understand. Like some of the boys, when they call me now, they're like, yo, like they can tell straight away, okay, I'll give you a call after, you know, because they know like I'm in a madness right now, you feel me? But lucky, you know, you gotta be supportive, be there for your partner, you know, help out where needed, you know, and enjoy this, because it's not, because today they're here, and then 10, 15 years down the track, or when they turn 20, they're gone within a blink of an eye, you know. Like I always tell my wife this, right? I said, hey, listen, I would do anything to get the first 3 months back with my daughter, when she was nice and small and she's just on my chest, you know. And nowadays, honestly, I grab her and I try to put her on my chest. And she's like, nigga, get off me, fam. Like, you know, and time flies. Time flies, but it's, like I said, you know, it's one of the most amazing things I've done in my life,
My cousin, she has a little girl now. She's like a baby doll. I'm going to show you a picture after this. She's so cute. And every time I see her, she's just getting bigger and bigger. And my cousin, she's like, I can't. When we first, this was her second kid, she was like, I'm done at 2. And now I'm asking her, I'm like, oh, are you done? She's like, yeah, I think I'm like the answer's different, because it's like, you just want to, I don't know, I feel like people just, it's like you want to keep having more, because those moments are, you know, they're so cute and they just grow up so quickly. But I don't know. I think a parenthood is just a whole different.
But you got to be ready for it. it's weird. You got to be ready for it, but you're
But you
never
can't
gonna
be ready for it.
never
Yeah,
going to be ready for
I
it.
don't think, no matter how much people tell you like what it's going to be like, I really
Mm.
don't think you'll know until you're in it. How have children, like obviously in the work that you do now, how has having children impacted that, or has it even like made a difference for you? Like, is there more passion? Do you feel like, you know, you have kids, so you want to make sure that next generation grows up in a place that's a bit more?
Of course. I'll be stupid if I said no. You know.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, my young kids are gonna grow up, and you know, they're gonna call Australia home. And I think I use that as a driving force to do the work I do. You know, not just for my kids, but for all young people. You know, I want to create an environment where it's safe. Young people feel protected, supported. There's equality there. You know, there's no discrimination, and it's fair. You know, obviously, you know, as a young man, you know, navigating Australia and you know the systems, etc. Obviously, we've gone through our fair share of like, you know, discrimination and racism and you know like bullshit, right?
Literally.
I don't want my kids or any young person to feel that. You know, so it's about doing the work today so they live a better life. Our parents struggled, we struggled a fair bit, but you know, how do we eradicate some of those things so these young people, you know, can live a life that's free and healthy and you know, easy.
100%. And just to the point of just back to just like the youth violence and everything like that, you were saying that you wanted to, you know, mention things about the music and the culture and how that's influenced.
I think it's interesting with the music. I think often that's the first go-to for a lot of people. Like young people, it's the music that they listen to, the grime, the drill, you know, the language, the violence that's within these songs. You know, I dipped him, I chefed him, I stabbed him, I splashed him, X, Y, and Z. You listen to it, right? And I was listening to his poetry where the guy goes something along the lines of, you know, thoughts become words, and then words become real. So they're unfortunately playing out some of those things, you know? And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, young people, don't listen to grime. Fam, I listen to grime, I listen to drill. But I don't take those, you know, lyrics and put it into action, you know? And the thing I want to tell you guys about is, for example, our generation, right? 2003, I was 9 years old. Yeah? What came out 2003? 50 Cent, Get Rich and Die Trying. That album. It's the 20th anniversary this year, right? I can sing how and tell you when that album came out, the whole entire neighborhood, the whole entire block was on the vibe. Yeah, because back before then we had Guy Sebastian, Shannon Knowles. No one knows, you know, who these people are, right? But when 50 Cent came out with Get Rich and Die Trying, every area, every neighborhood, every brother and sister is bumping that. I was 9 years old. I had to finesse a little MP3 player CD, you know, and play it at night because my parents wouldn't let me play it, right? But it's back then what music was. It was all about getting money. It was all about being fly. It was all about, you know, how you dress, how you look, right? It wasn't as violent. It wasn't as violent back then, you know? We're moving a bit different. But now you listen to some of these songs and these are young people listening to this, right? And you have to ask yourself, hey, listen, like, it's okay to listen to music and listen to grime and drill and, you know, follow your favorite artist. But just be careful because once you start internalizing some of those things, right? That person who's that rapper or that drill artist, if you actually ask them, that's not their life. That's
100%. I've heard so many artists now say they'll be like, oh, you know, the thing is, even I've heard rappers say that they're not even about that life. Like the reason a lot of them have gotten to, whose podcast did I listen to? It was some like, it was one in the US, and they were talking about like for them to be where they are now, they were never really deep in the streets like that before, you know. But then there's this like, that's what sells. Even some of the rappers like Meg Thee Stallion and stuff, and you know how they talk about like hip hop and women in hip hop and all that. They're like, we're not really doing this stuff. It's just kind of what sells, you know. But then people, even the TV shows now, like people are on things like Ghost. I mean, it's called Ghost. Ghost and Power. It's called Power. Power, and then the all the books that have come after it.
Top Boy.
All of that. It's like it romanticizes this like hustle, like this gangster lifestyle.
But then the thing is, my thing is, don't buy into that hype. That's not you, fam. Like, you feel me, right? And but then also the other thing is like, once you start like doing that, right? For example, I'll be real, right? Like for a lot of these young kids, right? You're running around, you're doing X, Y, and Z, and you're acting out a lifestyle that, hey, listen, I do this, and I'm a gangster, and I'm a roadman, this is that, right? But who's making money? Like, yo, none of you guys are actually making money. That's from what I see anyway, you know. When I have, yo, who's making money? Tell me one gangster right now that's got money. None of them, you know. But also the other thing is like you have to be very, very careful, because once you start portraying that lifestyle, yeah, you go from being a young person, then now you've entered the game. That's what I say. It's almost like a game, you know? So if you're on social media, and be wary, right? If you're on social media and you're posting hundreds of thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of dollars, and you're posting, you know, Gucci and Prada and Fendi and Moncler, and you're telling yourself, hey, listen, I'm about that life, you know? I'm a roadman, yeah? And then when you go out to the street and you get tested, what's good? You feel me? Like, you have to be very, very careful with what you post on social media, because people are watching. People are watching. And also, side note, fam, you're wearing Gucci, Prada, Louis, and all that, right? But your mum's like 3 months behind rent.
Yeah, that's wild.
Let's be
you're
real.
calling them out. Yeah.
Hey, brother, let's be real. Like, guys, you're wearing all this designer, all this Gucci, this, that, right? But your mum's 3 months behind rent. Your brother's still wearing the same shoes from Kmart. Like, come on, man. You know, if you're really about it, right? If you're really about it.
We were saying before, like even off the podcast episode, we were talking about how like a lot of it's just stunting. Everybody's on social media stunting. Even when you go like the nightlife, like clubbing and everything like that. And you were saying how people are not as, which you could touch on as well. People feel a little bit like tense being in those spaces because they don't want to be seen and stuff. But the culture has changed so much. You know, it's not like as like authentic, and people are not just carefree in themselves anymore because of the influence social media has now. It's like all about flexing. You have to look at how you look, blah blah blah, how you present yourself. So everyone's stiff. And then you're out here, but they're not really like living that life. It's just how you're supposed to be perceived.
I'm in the area, peak Friday night, Saturday night, and I see a bunch of the brothers, young kids in the area. I'm like, oh, babe, you guys are hanging about, no issue with that. But no, you guys ain't going out, this, that, you know. It is what it is. And then the brothers that do go out, I'm talking about, you know, not everyone goes out, right? But the brothers that do go out, they'll tell me, hey, listen, nah, bro, because I go out. I'm looking over my shoulder. I don't know who I'm going to run into. I've got ops here. I've got there, blah, blah, you know? And now you're just sitting in the area like a dummy. You feel me? It's like...
Just not enjoying life at all.
But it doesn't have to be like that. You feel me? Like, you're fighting, you mentioned before, the whole postcode thing, right? It's like, yo, who do these postcodes belong to? Like, but...
Literally.
Come on, bro. Your mum and dad are paying council rates, you know? Council bills, right?
No, but the council doesn't even do anything for you.
The council doesn't even know you. The council doesn't even know you, but you're running around like, yo, hey, I'm gonna do it for the area. Yo, the area doesn't care, fam. You know? But like I said, bro, like don't buy into the hype. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. And I think it's not me calling anybody out, right? But you just gotta be serious, fam. You know, because there's real lives at stake. There are people that are seriously being hurt. There are people that are actually seriously being hurt. Mothers that are going through some, parents and families that are going through some real dramas right now, you know? So you got to be careful with the decisions that you make, you know? It's cool, but stay in your lane. Bro, there's nothing goofy about getting a job. There's nothing goofy about having a 9 to 5. There's nothing goofy about going to school and going to uni. Like, don't let the streets play you, fam, you know? Don't let these guys that are out there 24/7, you know, doing madness, tell you, but like, do this. But like, fam, I'm telling you, it's blessed. It's okay. Just stay in your lane. Things are going to work out, you know? That's it, you know? I think if you start buying into the other bullshit and the other hype, what happens, you get lost in the sauce. And once you get lost in the sauce, it's wraps from there. You know, you just got to be true to who you are. That's the only advice I can give, you know? Because there's people out there that don't want to see you win. And we have to be very, very honest, you know? There's people out there, fam, that do not want to see you win. They see you coming up, they're going to drag you back down. So you gotta watch out for those cats. You gotta watch out for those people, you know?
I mean people around them
people
as well.
People around them, 110. The amount of people, the amount of brothers that I see, and sometimes it's the closest people to you. Like, you have to understand, it's the closest people to you that don't want to see you win, that don't want to see you succeed. It's the people that you would ride out for. It's the people that you love and respect and care about the most, But deep down, I'm telling you, fam, it's the same people that don't want to see you win. But also reach out to people. Like, obviously, like once you leave that life behind, and it's going to be tough, and it's going to be hard, because there's going to be so many influences and so many things that want to drag you back in. The boys are calling you, hey, listen, brother, I got X, Y, and Z, or I got this play, or come out here over here, or we're doing this, right? Like, it's going to be tough. But then reach out to your elders, reach out to the mentors, reach out to the brothers. Hey, listen, brother, I can come pick me up. Yo, Hanad, come scoop me up. What are you doing today? I'm playing basketball with the boys. I come pull through. You know, like reach out. Like, you know, it's not. You don't have to like go through this by yourself, because there's a lot of young people who, honestly speaking, genuinely want to leave that life behind, and they want to make some change, you know, but they're asking for help. And I think it's our responsibility as a community to say, you know what, I come through, man, you know, we'll hold you down.
Touching on like the music stuff and everything, it's like, again, like that's the only form of representation they have, and it's hard to think about like putting the responsibility on kids to have that level of self-awareness and that level of like you know, character, to be like, no, I'm gonna like step aside, I'm gonna do my own thing. So yeah, I think that's just like important to mention as well. Just
be you. I think, you know, one thing I tell all the young people I work with, right, is be you, fam. There's only one you. Like there's like what 7 billion people in the world or whatever, right? You can't duplicate this. Just be yourself, right? And if people like it, by all means, you know, bless, you know. But if you've got haters, bro, we love haters, bro. Bring them in, you know. But don't let them, you know, knock you down, you know. Stay true to who you are, you know, and to what you believe in.
There's so much with that.
We spoke to you about so much today, and I feel like we could just like
keep going.
Of course.
We might have to run it back again, you know.
Nah, definitely not.
But thank you so much for jumping on.
Appreciate it.
Where can people find you?
You know, you can find me on my socials. I think I'm active on social media. So it's Hanad Hersi with a double I. Reach out. So I'm doing a number of things right now. We're just doing some programs with a number of schools. Just doing some. I've got a couple of things in the pipeline at the moment. Okay. Feel free to reach out. I think for any young people, any parents, obviously in the context of like, you know, working with young people, programs and stuff like that, you know, reach out. More than happy to help out. But also there's so many other people. Like, I'm just one individual, right? There's so many other amazing practitioners, youth workers, mental health advocates, etc., that are in the community who are doing some amazing work. Tap in with them too. So yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.